All right, good afternoon, everybody. All right, welcome to our weekly quickfire. I started a bit early today. It's only 4:55, but just wanted to come in and a bit early to set up and to prepare all the things. For those of you who are online on Facebook and YouTube, do let me know. Recently I picked up this book. As you can see on the board, I'm doing some practice questions on there. This is a Sec 4 IP program. So it's like and level up the current syllabus of EMAX and AMAX. I know that some of the students are actually taking this IP program, this IP program for them, which actually guarantees them all the way up to A levels. Okay, so I just wanted to I bought the book. I bought the book to try out the different questions to have a go of it to see how it's like. Yeah, so wait, is my camera on? It should be on. Yeah, it's on. Okay. So this is more or less like me practicing the questions. Oh, the questions are much more difficult. Much more difficult than our current EMAX and AMAX syllabus. It's very much different. They build on the same theories and identities and concepts, but it's much more difficult. Like for example, this question over here. So actually what I'm doing before the live stream is normally I'll just do some self-practice to, continuously improve my skills in order to discover new methods to increase my capabilities, so I'm able to solve more questions, learn more, teach more, do better in my tutoring. So this is just part of my process to to part of my process to bring it to uh help to increase my skills lah, to benefit my students. Okay, we'll still start punctually at 5, so this is more like a self-practice thing. All right, so for to give some grace time for people to come in. Okay, yeah. Some people ask, does exam come out with these questions? Does exam will appear these questions? Maybe slightly easier than this. If you're talking about the mainstream O levels, then yes, it will be slightly easier than this. But you're talking about IP level, which is questions coming up from this book itself, then yes, this kind of level will come up. But of course, as tutors, we need to know how to cater to both lah. Okay, so we need to learn how to manage on both sides. Okay, so same thing. If you want to go and try and pick up a piece of paper and try with me, by all means, by all means, go ahead. Okay. Well, I do welcome you to go ahead and give it a shot. Okay. Yeah, and sometimes I need to check my Zoom OBS streaming because it just lagged for a while. So I understand that people might be watching from Facebook and then they might be facing some lags and whatsoever. For my OBS, it looks sometimes my image got a bit cut off. So yeah, also gives me a time to go and check whether my streams are working. Those people who are watching from YouTube, you guys should be facing it. You guys shouldn't be facing any issues because I'm directly broadcasting the Zoom onto YouTube. So if you guys want to see from YouTube, it's a more straightforward. I don't think there'll be any issues because in the future I want to actually repurpose these videos so that for future content creation purposes. So today and all the quickfire sessions I'm doing, it's more like a documenting process. So whether or not people watch or they don't watch, they ask or they don't ask, to me it doesn't make a difference because ultimately these videos are going to be repurposed in more meaningful manner. So it's just going to right now it's just going to be a bunch of recordings. So I want to actually store them on YouTube. So when I store them on YouTube, next time I can bring it down to use. Yes. Right, but anyway, it's 5:02 already. So once again, welcome everyone to our quick fire session. Time flies. We have already reached our 19th session. Okay, I officially counted already 19th session. Okay, so it's a long ride ever since we started. So the objective of the quickfire hasn't changed ever since. Basically, it's for people to ask questions on their online, whether is it for revision or whether is it for like learning ahead, or whether is it any homework assignment question that you want to ask, feel free to do so. Okay, so this quickfire remains as something. It's more like an initiative that I'm constantly doing to as part of my own, I'll say, passion. Yeah, and very interestingly is I've did some sharing into I did some sharing into my different Facebook groups, and then the response is actually quite decent. The response is quite decent, so that and there are people who actually ask me if they can join the Discord group, well, which I warmly welcome them. So if you want to join my Discord at my Discord group as well, feel free to join in. You can ask me directly for the link lah. Okay, so on Discord and from Telegram group chats. Okay, so you guys will be able to get in touch with me over there. So recently I put my Discord in Xiaohongshu, which is a Chinese platform. So then recently I got quite a few requests wanting to join the group because I just realized that actually in China they are not allowed to use Discord. So they kind of like ban it off already because ultimately Discord is from the Western countries. So Xiaohongshu and the China users are not able to use Discord. So they asked me for the link. So apparently they are able to do so lah. So I got quite a few requests coming in from there. So if you have Chinese friends who want to use the Xiaohongshu, want to get in touch with me, feel free to do so. Okay, so Telegram group, WhatsApp group, and then we also have the what else? Discord, and I also created a Xiaohongshu group on its own. So for the people who are in Xiaohongshu itself, then okay, maybe what I can do now is also to actually invite those. I can also let the people in Discord know I'm online as well, so they will be able to join in. Okay, so for these people who wants to come in, they can also come in as well. Maybe I just do see I can do a stream over there. Is it possible? Join voice. Okay, I think it's up. Okay, maybe I just leave it over here to whoever wants to come in will come in lah. Okay, so to me, I'll just open up as many platforms as possible for students who want to join in the conversation with me. So whoever wants to ask questions, whoever wants to do some content revision are free to do so. So I welcome everyone and anyone to come join in the community channels. The objective of doing this is ultimately to actually encourage and to motivate people who are self-learners, okay, and maybe they are not undergoing any tuition or anything, but I see more and more people are actually adopting like self-studying, okay, and for people who are maybe financially wise, they are not able to afford tuition. Okay, so for this kind of situation, what I will do is I'll encourage them to actually join me in my live streams. So they got any specific questions they want to ask, they can just ask directly over here. Okay, and otherwise I'll just be doing like revision and revision, so on and so forth. Okay, what I'm focusing on is mainly on upper secondary mathematics. But of course, if you have we have people who are in lower secondary or even in primary school. By any chance, if you're in primary school, sure, please do reach out to me as well. I can also do revision on those lah. Anyway, it also serves as a good revision for people who are in the upper levels to do some revision. Quite important, especially for both PSLE and O-level students. Because in those graduating levels, we are not just tested on that level stuff only. We are tested on like primary school. We are also tested on like lower level things, like even as basics as algebra, for example. Okay, so I want to make this a more two-way communication, a more two-way thing, so that people will be able to interact with me, and I will be able to learn something from them. That's the main objective. Okay, I don't want to make it like a very structured thing, because there are people out there who are doing it already. So I want to make it a more two-way communication. You guys ask what you want to do, you guys ask me what is it that you want to revise, then let's go ahead and and have some interaction over there. I think that's better. Yeah, correct. So last few weeks before the June holidays, we did some WA, we did some weighted assessments. Then we did some weighted assessments, and then I actually prepared the exam training program for our graduate students, which is for Sec 4 and P6. The response has been decent. Not, I'll openly say it's not fantastic. It's not fantastic. But I would say about 20 to 30 slots are being booked. So I think that's a very good start, especially from people who actually, for parents who are actually taking the initiative and say, hey, actually, this is something that's beneficial for my child, and they want to take the extra step forward to sign up for their kids, which is a very good thing, because nowadays the schools are actually they are actually removing the emphasis away from exams. So they are actually removing the mid-years, and for the major examinations, they won't come until the end of P5. So by the time when the P5 first major examination comes, it is too late for the kids to actually identify certain gaps that they might have created ever since maybe P3 or P4. Okay, so by the time they start to panic, they start to worry, and then have a lot of like requests to maybe change the foundation and whatsoever. But at end of P5, it's a bit too late. I would say it's a bit too late already, because when it comes to P6, when the students enter P6, the school will actually start to register them with the MOE to take the PSLE at the end of the year already. So in order for the parents to request for the school to transfer their kid to foundation, it's quite a cumbersome process, and it's subject to the teacher's approval. And most likely, I would just say upfront, most likely the teachers will say no. And the school will, in a way, they will not reject you outright. Okay, they will not tell you in the face and say no. But normally, what they will normally do is they would discourage your kid from going to foundation. Okay, so they will say things like, okay, they will give them a shot, give the kids another chance. Maybe their underperformance is a one-off issue, or they say that what else? They say that they are actually performing well in the class homework and they are doing well in the task, just that maybe during exams they cannot perform. Okay, I'll tell you all these are bullshit lah. Really, all these are bullshit because the teachers are the middlemen, and they are the frontliners of the school, because the teachers being the representative of the school, they have to protect the school's reputation to a certain extent. Okay, as much as the teachers themselves, they really want for the children to go to a better learning environment, whether or not to stay in foundation, to stay in standard, or to go to foundation, they have a reputation to uphold. Because every school, they must retain a small percentage of people who are in foundation. If more and more parents are sending requests for their children to transfer to foundation levels, what will happen is the percentage of the people who are in foundation in that school will increase. And when it increases, there will be lesser people taking the express and the normal streams, the standard level subjects. And this will affect the reputation of the school. And when the school's reputation is affected, it will affect the school's intake. And when the school's intake is being affected, many other things will arise. Whether is it in terms of like the government funding, whether is it for the subsidies for the school, whether is it for programs for the school. Okay, it will be very difficult because under the government's scrutiny, under the government's in their perspective, the school is having a higher level of foundation people, of foundation students. Okay, we are not talking about politics here, but we are here talking about how the schools view request on foundation. Okay, it's not cannot. Okay, the schools themselves in their own system, they can transfer their students to foundation, but they have to uphold they have to maintain and keep the percentage to a minimum, so that the school's entire profile won't be affected that great. Okay, so it's especially for like those top primary schools. This is even more so because their reputation are much higher, and they have all these reputations are slowly being built over the years through the parents' referrals, through the efforts of the teachers, the curriculum, the principal. Okay, this whole reputation has been set for many decades. Okay, so as the system gets tweaked more and more, and the more and more parents are going to voice out and say, hey, I want to, maybe sending my children to foundation level might be a more suitable avenue for him or her. Okay, as much as more requests are going to come in, the pressure from the schools are going to increase. They are just going to increase because ultimately the teachers and the principals have to come together to make a joint decision as to whether or not to let this kid go foundation. Okay, so right now I would say that the teachers and the schools are also their journey and their thought process is also a difficult one. Okay, so as much as I kind of comment on how the school's decision on deciding whether the kid's going to foundation or not, we have to understand it from the school's perspective as well. So for parents, I understand that there are many parents out there whom their children, whom your kids are also and struggling with this kind of issue, especially with the new grading system. With the new grading system, nowadays people are getting more and more very picky and very particular about the AL they are getting, because one AL can affect a certain stream, for example. Because right now the situation is that when the kids reach a certain AL, when they go to secondary school, they will be offered that subject either the school will give them options whether is it a G3 or G2 or G1, something like that. Okay, so that means, but if your AL is maybe like one mark lower, one grade lower, the options that are given to you to choose will actually change from G3, G2 to G2, G1, depending on where are you at. Or maybe they won't even give you a choice. They give you G2 straight away based on your marks. So that 1 mark makes a big difference. So what happens is that it will create a new social you create a new social phenomenon where every single mark becomes very, very important. Okay, as much as the system is being portrayed and being shown to, to so-called ease the competition and to ease the comparison between marks and grades, but what will happen is that it will create two groups of people. You create two groups of people. One group of people are the elitists. These elitists, right, are always performing very well. So they have always been the cream of the crop. They are always in the first class. They are always in the first few positions. So what happens for these people is that their marks are going to be even more higher. It's going to be even more higher because right now the AL system, right, from 45 to 64 is all AL6. And then after that, the AL6, AL5, AL4, AL5, AL4, 3, 2, 1 are all very small gaps. So what's going to happen is that every single mark in those range, that means from 70 and above, I don't say 65, okay? 70 and above, every single mark is very important. I would say a 5-mark difference, a 3 to 4 mark difference will already affect their AL. Because if I'm not wrong, AL1 should be 85 and above, something like that. Okay, I don't know the exact numbers. Okay, if you can, I can pull it up right now. I see if I can go online and search it up. But it shouldn't be a very difficult task. Let me see, let me just go online and try to find it. Okay, but the concept is that the group of elitists, right, their mark range, right, will be very, very little. It will be so small that every single mark is so crucial, so important. That's why for those elitists who are performing very, very well, they will continue to be even more particular about every single mark they do. Okay? Yes, I got it already. Okay, let me just quickly share the screen. I'll show you guys what's going on. Okay, a simple Google search from here. Okay, let me see. I stop share first. Stop share. Let me just bring the screen over. Okay, for a simple AL, let me see. Okay, I got the. Let me just try to make it full screen. Where's my full screen? Come on. Okay, for AL is where is my screen? Here we go. Okay, something to do with Zoom. Okay, for AL1 is 90 and above. AL2 is 85 to 89. AL3 is 80 to 84. AL4 is 75 to 79. AL5 is 65 to 74. So you see that from AL5 and onwards, right? AL5 has a gap difference of 10 marks. 65, 66, no, 9 marks. 9 marks. And then from AL4 onwards, it's all 5-mark difference. It's only a 5-mark difference in terms of the scoring. So what happened is for example, for a student who is doing AL4, he's doing a 75. 75 is only an AL4, FYI. Okay, and then as compared to someone who is doing 81, 6 marks difference. But AL is a 1 grade difference. Or maybe for someone who is scoring 79, someone else who is scoring 81, it's also a 1 grade difference. So you can see every single mark is even more, close. And especially when it comes to AL2, AL3, AL1, okay, is 75 and above. That means every range is only 4 marks. You see the issue over here. So the group of elitists, right, will be even pushing their limits, right, to hit the highest mark as they can. Because AL2 and AL1, it's AL1 and AL2 is like that small gap away only. So it's like in a span of 15 marks, that means from the 100 mark to 85 mark, it's already 2 grades already. That is a big issue. Okay, so for those elitists, right, they will be struggling every inch of their effort to make sure they hit the top AL1. Okay, so this is the first group of elitists. What is the second group of people? The second group of the people, I call them the Balong. Okay, what does it mean? That means those people, right, who are actually performing decently well. Okay, Not the best, but okay. But what happens to these people? They are performing. What are their grades in school like? They'll be hovering around the 65 to 70-ish, 65 to 70. And then for other subjects, maybe 50s, 60s. They are the average people. So what will happen to these average people? They will be mixed with the people of the lower tier. So it's kind of lump everything together. Why? Because if we look at the lower grades of the other system, right, on the other end, for AL5 and AL6, for AL6, it's 45 to 64. Listen, 45 to 64. How many marks is that? It's 19 marks. It's four times the grade gap for the upper grades. The grade gap for upper grades is 4 marks, 4 marks, 4 marks, 4 marks. This is 19 marks. It's 5 times the difference. 5 times the difference, guys. That means, let's say this kind of sharing is very abstract. Let me put an example and show it to you guys. For example, let's say your student is actually doing a just pass. Maybe he's doing like a 50-ish, 55. So 55 in the new standard is actually AL6, 55. And let's say he's struggling. Sometimes he may go a bit lower than 50. Maybe some exams and some tests, he gets a 45%. So what happens is that he will still be hovering around the AL6. So let's say this student has been doing in the 45 range, 45 to 50 range. In the past, 45 to 50 range, to our mentality is about to pass. And this kind of mentality still holds for a lot of parents today. Today, there are people who come out, they show them, okay, their mathematics got 45. To the parents, it's still a fail. It is still a fail because they haven't got out of the AL system. They haven't got back from the pass system and entered the AL system. To them, for anything below 50 is fail. Anything above 50 is a pass. It's as simple as that. Because in the past, we are being graded just like that. But now they have gel it all together and say that, okay, 45 to 64 is an AL6. So it's not considered a fail. It's not considered a fail because it's still AL6. AL7 is 20 to 44. That is 24 mark difference. 24 marks. 24 marks, then 19 marks, then 9 marks, 4 marks, 4 marks, 4 marks. Okay? So for the 20 to 44, it's even worse because there's a big difference for a person who is scoring 30 marks in a test and a 45 mark in a test. There's a big difference already. And yet they are separated. And for people who are doing just pass, just now back to the 45, 50, the about to pass range, what happens is they will be blended with people who are scoring 60s. So let's say we have a student in class, maybe one guy is doing 45, one guy is doing 60. There is a 15 mark difference. But what happens in this 15 mark difference? They are all lumped together to be of the same grade, which is AL7, AL6. And what happens is this: if they use this score and they produce such a score in PSLE, so let's say really in PSLE, there's a guy who performed 45 marks for the exam, and then some guy who got maybe 63. They are all being lumped together as an AL6. So therefore, when they enter secondary school, the subject offerings, the grade level for that subject is going to be the same for the 60 scorer and the 45 scorer. So the mediocre, the average people scoring 50 and 60s, right, will be lumped together with the people scoring 40s. This is another issue. They cannot learn together. Okay? Because for people scoring 50, 60s, there are many factors why. It's either they didn't understand the concept fully, they didn't understand the question properly, or it could be because they just didn't perform well due to psychological factors. Maybe anxiety lah, anxiousness lah, exam stress lah, things like that. And you put them together with the 40 scorers. And now you say that all of them are of the same group. The gap is too big. The gap is still too big. The past when we do A1, A2, A3, B3, B4, that was decent. That system was decent. It's actually pretty okay. because all the gaps are pretty much spaced out. Now they try to lump all the 60, I would say AL6 to AL8, that means from 45 to 20, 0 to 45 as 3 grades. And I would say in order to really see a visible grade improvement, we need to put the student at the very least, in AL4. AL5, I would say, is just a meh. It's a very meh grade. But AL5 is 65 to 74 already. That means for a person who is scoring 70s, let me say he's maybe scoring 71, 72%, it's only AL5. AL5 in this case becomes the most awkward grade. You're neither here nor there. You're not fantastic to get AL321. You're not bad. You're not so like worse enough to do like AL6, 7, 8. You're in the middle. But now the so-called the median score, the median mark, the median grade went up. So if we look at it in terms of statistics, when the median goes higher, it means what? They are pushing for standards. Then they're going to lump everything else below as one group. It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. So what happens is that for someone who is actually at the 45 mark, maybe this student need a bit more time to absorb the concept. What happens is that maybe in his test, he's doing 45 marks. He's scoring an AL6 right now. So after maybe a lot of tuition, a lot of guidance, he jumps a lot of marks. Maybe he jumped by 10 marks. He gets a 55. But ultimately on the grade, it's not going to affect anything at all, because it's still going to be AL6. Yeah, 45 to 64. So 55 is still in the AL6 grade. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to change anything on the paper. So what will happen in this group of AL6 people? You will realize that people will be split again into 2 groups. Just for people in the AL6 itself. The people inside will be split to 2 extremes. One is the about to reach 65 one. That means the 60s and above. That means they push them hard. They chiong them hard. They study damn hard. Maybe they just can't get it. They get 61, 62, 63, 64. They just hit. They are about to hit AL5, but they haven't hit AL5. So they are AL6. Then you have another group of people. Okay, don't study. Anyway, I studied so hard. I improved 10 marks. Also still the same. I got AL6. Might as well I don't care subject. I focus on my other subjects instead. So these people will score below 50. Maybe just hitting 50. 45 to 50-ish. But they're still AL6. So this group itself will be split to 2 extremes. One is it's at the very top of AL6. One is at the very bottom of AL6, slipping to AL7. There will be nobody in between. Those people who are still in between, that means from the 50s, the people who are scoring the 50s to 60s are still people in the old mindset. There will still be people talking about, oh, I got 51. I just passed the test. 51. AL6. You're still AL6. So for those people who are in the middle of AL6, are people who are still working their way through. They are still putting in the effort, just like the old times. Just like the old times. That means nothing has changed. To them, nothing has changed. Above 50 means pass. Below 50 means fail. But ultimately, what is shown on the paper itself is still AL6. Makes no difference. Okay? So the message that I'm sharing over here is this. The system right now is actually pushing a lot for elitism. It's not here to ease the competition or to so-called blur the benchmarks and lines and stuff like that. It has never been the case, and it never will be the case. Because Singapore is a very small country. I have to explain it from the social studies point of view. Singapore is a very small country, and they have to put a lot of focus on manpower and the capability of Singaporeans. For local talents, they have to up their standards. If not, they will be slowly phased out by foreign people. And Singapore, we don't have natural resources to help the Singapore to gain revenue or to gain GDP. So all Singapore have is to make sure that every Singaporean is a performing one, so that they can contribute to Singapore's revenue. It is just as simple as it is. So for people, so in every small nuances and every small nuances of change that they set, all the way from ground up, which is from the education system that we have over here in the primary school, they are actually hinting this already. But parents and schools don't realize it yet. Maybe the school see it, maybe the school see it. But parents and students, they don't see, they just follow the change law, but they never think what is the impact. What is the impact that will happen to future kids, and how these children will develop into the future leaders of Singapore. Ultimately, there will be one day that I will grow old and die. And there will be one day where these people who went through this AL system is going to take over Singapore. And this is what they are pushing for. Okay, so for those of you who think that, okay, the government, the ministry are trying to like ease the competition, no, they are not. I hope you guys can wake up the idea. It is not to ease the competition. Okay, it is to just, what they are trying to do is to generalize the masses and to pick out the elites. Okay, generalize the masses, pick out the elites. So the elites can perform better, and then for those of you who are still perform averagely, you're on your own. Literally, they are not going to care for you anymore. In the most extreme sense, okay, I know that there are other programs and there are other ways that these students can look for other paths of studies. But for the masses, you guys have to look out for these alternative pathways. And furthermore, before the AL system is being introduced and officially being put into use, what is the other change that was being introduced? The SBB, subject-based banding, where they group subjects to G1, G2, and G3. And what happens is that now students will no longer be required, and they don't need to take all the subjects at express level, or now they say the G3 level. So according to your difficulty level and your capability level, students each of them will have a different grade profile. Okay, so what this grade profile is that for students, for subjects they are doing better in, they will take a G3. For things they are taking for subjects they are performing not so good in, they take a G2. Otherwise, they take a G1. So every single student will be put into the same class, but each of them will have a very different combinations of subjects. They will be taking the same subjects, yes, but they will be taking it of a different difficulty, which makes the whole thing very complicated. It's a good move. I would say generally the motivation and intention is there to help to to ease the stress from the students, because the students can study at their own pace and to be more confident in the things they are good at, to focus on things they are good at, and to really perform at that level. Okay, in fact, the G1, G2, G3, the G3, G2, G1 are just the transformation from express, normal acad, and normal tech. They are exactly the same thing. But it's just that they try to coin the terms more similarly, so that in the future, people won't see it as an extreme differentiating factor. It's just a G1, G2 only, but in the past, it's been seen as express, normal academic, and normal technical. That was in the past. Okay, and when they blur the benchmark, people won't feel the stress. So what happens is that when people don't feel the stress, that is another issue. Okay, so the majority of people are taking G2 subjects. Okay, for people who are taking so-called better, is G1 subject. This is another big problem. In the past, express is being seen as a norm. Or we can say that a higher percentage of students actually enter express stream, and then followed by normal acad, then normal tech. So over the years, a very interesting statistics have shown that the percentage of people entering the express streams are getting lower and lower and lower. And more people are actually going to normal acad streams instead, because they see that as a perfect balance between express and normal tech. So now what has happened is normal academic stream is becoming a norm, which is what the ministry don't want to see. But it has happened. So the ministry have to mitigate to this. They have to react to this. So you see that, okay, more and more people are entering normal acad streams. That means they are taking subjects. So they see that the students are actually more comfortable with a reduced difficulty of the subjects. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm not here to say good or bad. Every stream got its good and bad. But we are talking about the difficulty of the subjects here. Academics, in the normal acads, the subjects that they are doing is 75% of the express stream. So I would say it's slightly easier. The depth is not so deep, but it still covers the same range. So more and more students are seeing normal acad stream as a more comfortable level for them to perform. So the government and the industry had to react to this. And they react to this and say, okay, now normal acad seems to be the more popular choice now. Can we actually mitigate this and allow this to happen? So when they allow this to happen, they need to remove the stigma that express is the norm. This is what they're doing. Okay, so good nor bad, I can't say for sure. I don't want to put a straight conclusion and say that something is good or something is bad. Because I'm an entrepreneur myself. The government, the ministries, they are also working like an organization. They need to have revenue, they need to think of their business strategies. It's just like running a business. It's like running a country on a business. So when they also have their own factors to consider while making this decision. It may not be the best decision, it may not be the optimal decision that benefits everyone and gets the balance out of everyone, but they are trying to make the effort. So I hope that the students and parents today acknowledge the efforts that is being done by the ministry and to navigate yourself out of it. Not out of it, but along it. That means when the government and the ministry are thinking of ways to make changes, to make improvements, I hope that parents and students of today can be more aware. Awareness is still the most important thing. Whether the schools or MOE come up with a whatever decision, is about the parents need to be aware. They need to know what's going on and to be with the MOE, with the school, to mitigate and to tide through the changes. Will there be changes in the future? Yes, confirm. There will be changes in the future. From AL system to SVB to SEC, where it's like a new unique O-level certificate equivalent. Will there be more changes in the future? Definitely. Because when all these changes are implemented, all these people are going to tide through this new system. And then where are they going to end up? In unis, universities, JCs. The subjects offered will be different. The level of how narrow the field is for university courses and degrees is going to be different. New courses will be introduced. Old courses will be obsolete. There will be continuous changes. It's just that because university in the extent they are too big already, the NUS got so many people from all over the world coming in to study. How can MOE govern like so many things? That is like they were going to leave that for another day. or maybe for another cabinet, or maybe a few years down the road. Maybe, I don't know. But definitely there will be continuous changes along the way. And it all starts from the AL system, SBB, SEC. It's going to start with these three things. So parents of today's age needs to be well informed. My main message is this: they need to be more well informed about what's going on in the system and how can they have the best path for their children and help their children study in the system more confidently, okay, more with more aptitude, with more ability, and more importantly, is to be happy. It is ultimately for the students to be happy, okay, while studying the things that they like and they can perform it well. That is ultimately what everyone's objective is, whether it's the government, whether it's the MOE, whether it's for the parents, or whether for the students themselves. Okay, is to create the best learning environment for the kids. Therefore, the parents need to upgrade themselves. Parents need to, constantly be updated of the school's changes and to help their children tide through this period. It is a period of changes now. Whether is it in terms of like feng shui, is it in terms of energy, whether is it in terms of like all the other things, it's going through a change. It's going through a lot of changes now. Okay, in fact, from the metaphysics point of view, from next year onwards, we are going to enter a new 20-year era. It's going to be a brand new it's going to be a brand new scene out there. Okay, so all these changes that's coming up from our education system is just the tip of the iceberg. It's going to be the tip of the iceberg. So parents of today, we really need to brace ourselves to ensure that we know what's going to happen in the next 20 years. Super important. What is the new emphasis in the 20-year period? At least for the next 20 years. It means from 2024 to 2044. It's a new 20-year period. It's going to be one lot, right? Because now maybe I share a bit from the metaphysics point of view and from the education point of view, what is the new era? What is the new scene out here now? Right now, people are actually, we have already gone past the age of the era of self-actualization. When we talk about the Maslow hierarchy of needs, the basic two levels we are like covered already. We are covered already. We're all good already. Singapore is very prosperous in terms of revenue, GDP, all is good. But now when people want to go a level higher, they are looking for more things. They are looking for inner purpose. Humans nowadays are actually going to search more, not out there. They're not going to search for things out there because what's out there is at the tip of fingertips. We got Google, we got so much of search engines, we got ChatGPT, and with ChatGPT, we have given birth to a lot of AI stuff already. So we can get anything that we want at the tip of our fingertips. As long as you want it, you will confirm get it. As long as you know what you want, you can definitely get the resources very instantly. So humans are no longer seeking out. They're no longer looking outwards. In the next 20 years, what's going to happen is people as a whole planet, I'm talking about the planet here, people on the whole are starting to look inside. From outside to inside. So what are they asking themselves now? Who am I? Why am I here? What the hell am I doing here? What's my purpose here? What's my life goal? What's my inner purpose? What's my motivation? What drives me? What's my dream? What's my life purpose? They're asking these things now. And all these things are centered among themselves. Me, I. How do I contribute to everything out there? And what am I here for? Inner purpose. Nowadays, people are looking for inner purpose. They want to seek a higher meaning to life. Life is no longer just merely surviving, studying, get a good grade, get a job, earn money, feed kids, breed. We are stepping beyond that already. Okay, when in the past, like for example, if even we talk about things like sexual orientation, in the past it's a very sensitive topic not to be touched. Now, as we see different countries passing off laws that allows for LGBT marriages, and like recently when we talk about the 377A law in Singapore, countries are turning their heads towards and putting a bit more focus on such sensitive topics that was never touched about in the past. Never, it was never being brought up in the past. So as you can see, the changes in this kind of things is also an example of what the change we are talking about right now. Sexual orientation is an inner thing. What do I believe in? Am I a male? Am I a female? Last time it's very straightforward. I'm a male or I'm a female. On the IC, it's very straightforward. N or F. Right? But in the past, now you can say I'm neither male or female. I'm trans, I'm bi, I'm less, I'm gay. Nowadays, all these notions seems to be more accepting now, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing because it allows these individuals to better identify themselves, which is a good thing. And nowadays, with all this increased receptiveness of this orientation, the environment and the society are still trying to keep their terms with it, try to come to terms with it. There will still be people who will say no, male and female. Then there will be people who say, okay, it's fine. Let's see how we can do how we can come together and strike off a balance, and maybe to cut down the past discrimination or the past ostracization in the past. Okay, well, we put the truth outwards. These people with other different sexual orientations, they have faced ostracizing in the past. They have faced discrimination in the past. Now, not so much really, which is a good thing. It's a very encouraging change. But just that the environment and society on the whole, in general, they are still trying to come to terms with it. Okay, but it's a first step of the change. This is also one of the things that will happen even more in the next 20 years. Because we are now looking into change of the unseen. The change of the unseen. That means inner purpose is something that you cannot see, right? Like, for example, what do you live here for? Who am I? It's a very simple question, who am I? But in the past, it's a very simple question. Now, not so much really. Who am I can mean a lot of things. Because nowadays, people see a higher meaning and a higher purpose of self as compared to the whole world. Okay, so it's the next 20 years is going to be a big change. Okay, so what putting it back to education system, these kind of changes, they are here to stay. They are here to stay. Just that parents nowadays will also need to up their game as well. Up their game is a more straightforward way to put it across, but it's really to up their game, to be very aware about what's going to happen, and to think a bit deeper about what's going to be the impact, what is going to be the long-lasting impact that will impact their children and their grandchildren, or even potentially their grandchildren. Okay, I'm not a father yet. I haven't given birth to any kids yet, but I'm married already. Very, very soon, I'll be stepping into this phase where I will be also thinking about my kids' education pathway as well. And with these current changes, changes and adjustments that is being introduced in, we also have to see what is the best way for my child to study it as well. Okay, so it's okay. Let me just, I think my screen just went off again. Don't know for how long already. I try my best lah. Really, I really try my best already. Because there are just too many streams. Okay, let me see my Facebook stream. Is it there yet? Oh yeah, it's there. Ciao. to study. Yeah, it's there. Okay, so it's there's a lot of changes lah. I would say I think every week I've been ranting about the education system, the changes for parents to be more aware. I think every week I spend about 20 to 30 minutes. I think today I spend a bit more time. Maybe I also want to I also want to take a break from doing maths. I've been doing maths a lot of time already. I've been doing maths the whole day already. Okay, but it's really about sharing. It's about sharing this idea, and also to not just share this idea, but also to, to hope that this message goes out to more people and to inspire more people, more parents to actually take the step forward to find out more. Whether is it from me, whether is it from the school, it doesn't really matter, actually. I'm just here to share. But ultimately, it's really for the parents out there to be really, okay, let me see if I can connect to my Discord. I think it's over there. Yeah, it's for the parents to be more aware and to take the step forward for their kids. So, and of course, when the parents are more aware, more benefits will snowball, and it causes a ripple effect. It's a butterfly effect. When the parents are more aware, how will it benefit the kids? Number one, they can align their expectations for the kids. They will no longer be using the pass-fail mentality to look at their kids' grades. Okay, that's one. Because the schools is already coping with the new way of grading the students. So in terms of how they teach the students in school has already evolved already to ensure that they fit into these grades. So, but parents nowadays are still having the pass-fail mentality. So what happens is that it creates a misalignment. When the school's expectation is on a certain level, parents cannot keep up. Parents are still, they're disjointed, you see. They're disjointed. They're having a different expectation for the kids. So who is suffering? The kids. At school, they are going through the system by the school, the adjusted system to teach and learn. While on the other hand, they are facing the pressures of the parents. Because, like, for example, I'll just take a very straight up example. Let's say for a kid, maybe he's not doing so well in mathematics. Maybe a 45 mark. For a 45 mark student, maybe what he's doing is, maybe through the school system, he has improved. Maybe 55. 45 to 55, that's a 10 mark difference. But when the kid brings the 55 marks back to the parents and say, Mama, I got 55. To the parents who, let's say this parent is still having the old mindset of the pass and fail. To them, it's just 45 to 55 doesn't make a difference. Huh? It's 55 only. Just pass only. Okay, so even though that was what the school intended to, but to the kids, it's a big improvement of 10 marks. So what parents and the school should align is that we must be helping them to up their grade. It's not up the marks. But parents are still seeing according to marks because they don't understand the question. They don't understand what the content is. They only see the number that's stated on the top right-hand corner of the exam paper. Right? So parents need to align their expectations a bit. Is to align their expectations. Whether or not to increase their expectations or to decrease or to lower their expectations. Either case, they need to align. And to ensure that their kid is performing up to standard. Okay? For those people, like for the example that I given just now, for parents who are still thinking, wow, 10 marks a lot, wow, very good. It's going to make no difference. It's still going to be AL6. But from the school's perspective, from the school's view that, hey, this person has do 10 marks. It's good. On its way to AL6. They should be aligned. It should be aligned. They should be aligned together to help this student push even higher. That is the idea. Because both of them must see that pushing 45 to 55 is no difference. they must go higher. If they want to change the grade, if they want to improve their grades, is to go up from AL6 to AL5. Both the parents and the teachers must align to say that I must go up together, up the grade together. That's number one, aligning their own expectations for the kids. Number two, when the parents are more aware, they will also align the expectations with tutors. Okay, so because yes, you're right in the sense that the parents are with the student day in, day out. They can see what the children are doing. Tutors can only come in maybe once to twice a week. Okay, but however, when the parents lay out the expectations to tuition agencies about what kind of improvements they are looking to improve, right? They must set their mind right and they are the best to gauge what is the expectations for the kids. Okay, so it's if the person is struggling at AL maybe 7, 20 to 44, okay, at this point of time, if the kid is still struggling at AL 7, it depends on which level. It depends on which level. Normally, if it's AL 7, to push it to AL 6 makes no difference. But for AL 7, for 44 mark student, if this student were to change to foundation, it's actually a better choice. The things are much easier, much simpler. The lesson content is going to be much more smooth, and the students are able to do the simple things much more confidently. So for people who are doing AL 7, it is much recommended for you to go foundation all the way, straight away. Okay, of course, there will still be, depending on the time left to PSLE, the schools will advise otherwise, to stay and watch, observe, see how, and then observe the performance. Maybe we improve along the way. But all these are maybes and uncertainties that no one can expect, including the tutors. The tutors can come in with a guided instruction, and straight away they can pinpoint to you the academic gaps of the student and what to do. This is the job of the tutor, including myself. Our job is able to pinpoint the weaknesses to do so. But for parents need to be more patient on this. If we are really aligned and for them to up the grade, more patience needs to be exercised. More patience. Okay, because a gap from AL6 or say even AL7 to AL6 is a very big gap as compared to AL6 to AL5, AL5 to AL4. I would say 7 to 6 and 6 to 5 are the two biggest gaps. The two biggest gaps, 6 to 5 and 7 to 6 and 6 to 5. These are the two biggest gaps for the children to actually jump. From then on, it's actually easier. Because why? The mark gaps are smaller. So that means, let's say you are scoring 65 and above, we can jump. That means we can jump a few grades higher. Because from 65 onwards, the difference in the AL for 65 and above is going to be very minor. And especially for certain subjects, it could be that one careless mistake, or that one method mark, or maybe that one answer step, or maybe it could be one careless error. So if we were to fix that, the AL will increase really. That is for 65 and above. So I would say from AL7 to AL7 to AL6, and AL6 to AL5 are the biggest gaps that the children need to overcome with the tutor. If the parents engage a tutor, that's of course. But parents need to align their expectations. They cannot expect like in the span of like maybe like half a year, AL7 to AL4. 3 grades difference, not a lot, 3 grades difference. As compared to someone who say, I want to improve my child from AL5 to AL2. That is more possible actually. Because from an AL5 to AL2, if I were to open up the system again, the AL system again. What is the grade difference? AL5 to AL2 is a 65 to 85. It's a 20 mark difference. It's a 20 mark difference. From 65, AL2 is 89. So it's 65 to 9, 65 to 89. So it's about 24 mark difference, 24 mark. Okay. This 20 mark difference for AL5 to AL2 may only mean one grade from AL7 to AL6. So we cannot say a 3 grade. Nowadays, right, you see tutors saying like 3 grade improvement, 3 grade improvement. Don't anyhow. Please don't anyhow. Because a 7 to 4 is very different from a 5 to 2. Parents must know the difference. They must know the difference. A 3 grade improvement is never the same thing anymore. Last time, yes. Because last time the grade gap are all the same. 3 grades up, 3 grades up. 3 grades from 5 to 2, 3 grades from 7 to 4. It's the same because the gaps are the same. Last time you do A1, A2, B3, B4, that one, the gaps are the same. Now it's no longer the case. So parents need to be very clear and set their expectations for their kids, for the school, and for the tutors. Ultimately, it's for themselves, to align the expectations for themselves. How and to understand what is the potential for their own kids. Super important. Because ultimately, the wrong decisions coming in from the parents are. And when the children are being obedient and they understand what, and they follow their parents' instructions, the stress and burden lies on the child itself. That's bad. Okay, I'll say not bad, but it may very easily lead to excess stress, additional stress that may cause the child to backfire. You see, humans need stress. We cannot have no stress. But too much stress makes the person break down. That's my idea. So when it causes excessive stress on the kid will backfire. And the grades won't go up. And the grades won't go up. The parents' response mechanism is to engage a tutor to make magic. So when the tutors cannot make magic, and most likely, most of the case, the parents will not blame the tutor. They will blame the kid. Or the kid never do homework, the kid never follow instructions, the kid slack off, the kid play phone. They will never put lesser responsibility on the tutors. Why? Because they only see the tutors once per week. But they see their kid every single day. That is the problem. The parents, when the parents see their tutors see their kids every day, additional and subconscious pressure will be added onto the kids. They think the kids don't know, but the kids take in everything. But when the kids take in everything and they don't show it and they don't express it, it becomes suppressed. This is the big issue. Just from that, and all of this comes from where? It comes from the misaligning, and due to ignorance, due to negligence, due to misalignment of expectations. All of this will occur. It may sound very cliche, it may sound very academia or like psychology, like very, very fanciful, like very deep brain shit. But trust me, all these are going to happen. So if parents don't up their game, it's really for the parents to up their game. For if the parents don't up their game, this is going to happen. So when this expectations is not aligned, the proportion of emotionally suppressed kids will grow. All these kids today will develop into teenagers who are also emotionally suppressed. They don't know how to express their emotions. They don't know how to voice out. They don't know how to raise objections. And when they don't raise objections, they will not be changed. And when there is no change, the society will die off and stagnate. Am I right on this? Because how the society improve? The society improve based on change. When people see something they don't like, they want to have a change. This is what improvements are all about. Right? So when the children today are emotionally suppressed, they don't ask, they don't vocalize their thoughts, they don't say anything, they don't express, they don't raise their concerns, the society will stagnate. This is the ultimate big issue that is going to happen. Remember I talked about 20-year change? The 20-year change is going to happen next year. This, as we talk about the unseen stuff, right? We're talking about the looking within the unseen, the within stuff. The good things will happen, which is the self-actualization, the searching for inner purpose, the ultimate motivation of life, of yourself. These are the good stuff. With the good stuff comes with the bad stuff. The bad stuff is having more emotionally suppressed people. There are people who can type the change, who can be more creative, more expressive, more vocalized in their thoughts. They are free to do, they have more choices to do what they really want and they want in life and want to pursue as a passion, lifelong passion. Or maybe more opportunities for them to create their passions into careers and something that they can feed off. On the other hand, there will be people who cannot cope with the change. They'll be more suppressed, they'll be more caged, they'll be more protective of their emotions. And all of this, right, will lead to even more serious and severe psychological issues. Because they cannot cope with the change. And when they were young, when these emotionally suppressed people were young, they are not being guided, they are not being taught or brought up in the correct manner or in the inappropriate manner under a very stressful environment, for example, under a very unconducive environment, for example, and they don't know how to voice themselves out. And when they grow up, they cannot bring change. What they will bring is harm and destruction. I'll keep this on a very generalized approach. Okay, because we are not talking about any specific individual or specific group of people. I'm not intending any of those, but it's more on a general atmosphere of the environment. That's what we're hinting at. Okay, so it's really I would say it's a very interesting sight nowadays, because parents nowadays thought, hey, now I have to learn also. Now I have to learn about what's going on in the system. Now I have to learn more about my kids. I have to learn more about my children. What is the system going on? What is happening right now along the system? How are my kids coping with it? Are they okay with it? Are they not okay with it? What are their thoughts? What are their views? Okay, I highly encourage all the parents to have a good talk with your children. With all the changes, how do they feel? Do they feel stressed? Do they feel burdened? Do they feel pressured? Do they feel lost? Do they feel confused? Do they feel frustrated? Do they feel even more ostracized? Do they feel different? Because we need to guide the children to voice out more. In the past, if you don't voice out, you still survive. You can do things that don't require human interaction. You can do things that is behind the scenes. But now, we cannot do that anymore. Like I said, when we search for inner purpose in the next 20 years, people will be communicating even more. People will be talking to one another even more. They'll be exchanging thoughts and process even more. So people need to speak up. In the next 20 years, people must learn how to speak up. So if they are not being brought up properly, they don't know how to speak up, then they will be eliminated from society. That's the worst part. And being eliminated from the society is still a secondary issue, or it's still a very surface issue. The worst thing is, what is the worst thing that could happen to kids if they don't grow up appropriately? They will eliminate themselves. That is the worst part. When they eliminate themselves, what will happen? They will remove themselves from society. They will isolate themselves. they will not face the world. And all the other psychological issues will arise. Your depression, your depression, your mood swings, all these psychological issues, right? There is all deep within, right? All this will grieve, all this will sprout. And when they sprout, same thing, lead to harm and destruction. The worst thing that can happen is harm and destruction to ourselves. That's the worst part. And all of these, right, all of the things that we are doing today, that our parents are doing today, that society and environment are doing to us today, are all planting small seeds inside here. That one day, all these things will sprout. And when they sprout, whether is it for the good or is it for the bad, it depends on what are the seeds that has been planted in. Okay, so this is really nothing really academic now already, what I'm discussing and sharing. But it's more on that's why me and my wife, when we created this company, our objective is really to tap into these deeper issues. I mentioned in my website that academics is just a medium. There are much more issues deeper and beyond. Okay, and these are the things that I shared today. That are the things that is deep and beyond. There is something that is still is even more worthwhile to look into today. All these potential issues that's coming up from children of this age, as they are going through these changes. Okay, there are more and more people, more and more children who are facing a lot of hidden conditions. From our experience, okay, I'm not here to generalize the every single student out there, okay, but the students that we took, the students that we take for tuition, for academic help, in fact, a good proportion of them have hidden learning disabilities that either the parents don't know or the parents themselves refuse to acknowledge. ADD, ADHD, OCD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, all these things goes unnoticed. And all of these are, and I'm very daring to say, in the next 20 years, more and more of these conditions, right, will arise. It will not go down, it will arise. Because in the past, they are not being talked about. In the past, they are not being studied into very closely. They are only being studied and being brought up and being looked into it by practitioners. People who maybe like took a degree or masters in psychology. They are really the advanced like researchers. They are so expert and niche in that field. They are the niche people. Only the niche people will know about these fields. And once they enter the study of these fields, it's 10 years, it's 10 good years from getting a degree all the way to like, from studying university all the way to getting a PhD and to come out to be a psychologist, to call a certified psychologist. It takes 10 years. 10 years. And in this span of 10 years, more and more things are going to arise. That's why it is very, very important for more people, commoners like us. Okay, I don't have a psychological degree, I say first, but it is more important for us, even as educators, to be slightly more aware about what's going on in our kids. What are all these learning disabilities about? Learning disabilities is about all these potential psychological issues. What are they? How do they arrive? How do they show? How can parents mitigate them? How can parents help to guide their kids through this process? In the past, it is a rarity for these kids to have these conditions. So it's normal for parents to not know. We are entering change. The next, like I mentioned, next 20 years is going to be a big change. Parents, apart from knowing the academic system, they must know about these things as well. Super important. because the proportion is just going to increase. And when it increases to an extent where it starts to be more noticeable by the common masses, it's too late. That is the problem. It's too late. Okay, you can say that we maybe okay lah. The only a few people only only a small proportion is fine. It will not affect me. It will not affect my kids. By the time where it reaches an extent where it is worth a concern by the common masses, it's too late. It's really too late. In fact, right now there are already notions of mental health awareness. A lot of campaigns, a lot of like support programs. They are actually sprouting. All of these programs are sprouting. They're just sprouting. They're stepping into these areas. So it's definitely a good move forward. So I really encourage and I would like for more parents and more educators to come together and to have a deeper look at these issues together and working together with psychologists and practitioners to carve the next way forward. Educators in the past can work on their own. Psychologists can work on their own. In the past, when someone go to visit a psychologist, we call them xiao. I call them crazy people. But it is the kind of stigma that we need to overcome. It's the stigma that we need to overcome. The stigma of psychologists and psychology, the degree and the field itself remains very mysterious because of the stigma that was being created in the past 20 years. It needs to be removed now. This stigma needs to be removed now. So it is very important. So it's going to take a very long, it's going to take many years forward. All right. But I really implore for the stigma to be removed. Because we need to see psychologists as any other field. It's about taking care about ourselves. As cliche as it seems, it's like we can say loving ourselves. But it's all about the mental and the internal well-being. Okay. In fact, psychology is just about taking care of our well-being. So, but it's just that in the future, people don't give much emphasis on internal or inner well-being. So they don't really seek out for psychological help. But now, as more of this, like I said, the emotionally suppressed kids, more and more people grow. The psychology, I look forward to the day where the stigma of psychology gets removed, gets reduced. I wouldn't say removed entirely. That's the ideal, but it's more reduced. And I really implore for educators and psychologists to work together to help the students of today's society and for future generations to study more confidently and happily. Okay, ultimately, we want humans to be happy, right? Okay, so it's a big topic, it's a very big topic. And what I'm doing is still to instill because for me I'm a math tutor. So as a math tutor, what I do and what I want to create and to share is from a mathematics point of view about how to help students to sharpen their thinking in terms of mathematics. Because it's how to say remember just now I talked about where people don't seek change. People don't seek change, people don't they don't seek for change, they stagnate. And from what I see, that it is a very important notion for them to sharpen their thinking. So what I'm doing as a maths tutor is to encourage and inspire kids to think critically, to harness problem solving skills. Okay, so when I teach mathematics, I always tell my students, I don't really care about the correctness of answers. If you can guess your way through and get the correct answer, to me, there's no point. Okay, it's always about the problem solving process. How you plan, how you strategize, how you solve the problem is what I'm looking for. So when you have your plan to solve a problem sum, and when your plan is different from mine, let's discuss. That's what I want. Because from a problem, they have multiple solutions. You can have your own plan. I can have my own plan. Like for example, for a maths problem, I can use a primary school model way to do it. Maybe for secondary school kids, they may use an algebra way of doing it. Do we get the same answer? Yes, we will get the same answer. We will still get the same answer no matter what. But your plan is what you know. My plan is what I know. Both our plans will work. So let's discuss and see, hey, which plan is better for you. That is how I teach my maths. I don't really care about the correctness of answers. The correctness of answers, I can just get it at an instant. Sometimes to an extent where I see my students like math questions, right, I often tell my students, you don't need to tell me answer correct or not. Because the moment I see the question, I read the question, the answer pops up to me already. I reach the stage where I see normal questions, the answers pop up to me already. I know exactly what to use. And immediately I can see multiple plans. But ultimately, it's your plan. It's your thinking and how you approach the problem so that you can solve the problem. I'm not taking the exam. The students, you are taking the exam. The kids themselves are taking the exam. So it's really about the solving process, the thinking. So let's say you have a plan, you have a plan A to solve the problem. And I will challenge you to think otherwise. Could there be a better plan to solve that problem? Can your plan be simpler? Can your plan be more efficient to solve the problem? And in most cases, the answer is always a yes. They can always tune their plans to be the most efficient. Can your plan, maybe I would say, sometimes when my plan is different from the tutor, I accept their plan. It's perfectly fine. Because for them and for me, we think differently. We think differently. So because for me, I've been doing teaching for the past more than 10 years. I have my own level of insight for this question. For this person, maybe he's a Sec 4 student. He has only that level of insight. But he craft the best plan from his level of insight to solve the problem. Why not? Isn't it? Okay, so that's why people need to focus more on the planning. Okay, and this is what I'm trying to achieve through mathematics. And I understand because my wife is a science tutor, and she shows me how the science questions have evolved over the years, which is how the questions being phrased, what are the scenarios, because it's a science, science got experiment question. So when they share about like different types of experiments that we have not seen in the past, it implores the students to think and to relate to scenarios. So it's to step out of the normal theoretical knowledge and to see how can they be applied to real life situations. Same thing for mathematics. The theory knowledge is always the same. Like for example, when I do a standard question and when I do an IP question. So when I do the IP questions, the questions come to me as something that is different, but the theoretical concepts are all there. The theoretical concepts are all there. So the way that I plan my answer can be different from the IP students. But I must be able, why am I doing the practice? It's not just for me to get the correct answer, but it's also for me to think through what is the plan or what might be the plan for current IP students. And should there be a day where I'm teaching IP maths? how can I think in their perspective based on their level of knowledge so that they will know what to do and how to plan their answer. Okay, or even for primary school levels, Maths Olympiad. Okay, a lot of children, some I've seen not a lot, some children go for GEP programs, Maths Olympiad training programs. I shall not name which school. Or there are some courses, there are some tuition centers that actually offers GEP programs that teaches beyond the school's beyond the school syllabus. Okay, but it's I reserve my comments whether is it efficient or not. Is it really needed? Like for example, like for children being sent to like Maths Olympiad training programs or GEP programs. My question today is it really needed? Is it really needed? To me, no. Why? Because it is like I said, it's all about the problem-solving process. It's not about getting the answers. Okay, if the programs that is being offered, right, the way that is being taught, the way that is being phrased, helps them to create and sharpen their thinking process. That's good. That's good. If the program itself only focuses on the correctness of answers, that's bad. So but there's always a fine line. If the answer is not correct, you cannot see the plan. You will not see their line of thinking. Okay, that is that is commonly what's happening in mainstream schools now. The schools have an understanding is that if the answer is correct, their plan is correct. If their answer is wrong, we don't even need to see their plan. That is bad. This is not a good thing. Okay, so normally in my tuition, normally what I do is, because okay, given the fact that I'm not saying that the schools are performing poorly in this area, but I have to explain for the school why is it that such things are happening. Because one school, one class got so many students, the teacher don't have the time and energy to go and look into each plan of the student. They got no time for that. One teacher have multiple classes of 40 students. How are you going to look into the plan of every single student so that they can help that student in terms of the planning? They got no time to do it. And that's why for me and my tuition sessions, normally what I do is I'll ask them, what's your plan? After you read the question already, don't rush to write answers. Because right now there's a common phenomenon when people just see the question, they just see whatever numbers on the diagram, they just whack. They just bomb numbers. Anyhow whack. Yes also whack, no also whack. Whack for what to know? They see you got number there, just use. Very bad. They are not thinking. Or rather, instead of saying they are not thinking, I would say that their knowledge points are not connected. They don't know, they know the theoretical knowledge, but they don't know how to put it in a plan so that they can solve the problem. That is the big problem. That's why in my tuition, normally what I share is for them to run through a plan. Don't rush about writing the answers or calculating stuff. The calculation won't go wrong. For P5 and P6, you all can use calculator already. Okay, the numbers won't change. The paper won't explode. Read the question, look at the diagram, think through. What can I find? What can I find? Even before reading the question, they will give you a paragraph of information. Mary has 65 stickers. Then John has 175 stickers. After John gave Mary some stickers, they had the equal amount of stickers. Something like I don't know. Then maybe how many stickers does John give Mary? Something like that. So how do I say this? When people see the numbers, 175, 95, oh, they wanted to do something already. 175 plus 95 minus 95, then I don't know what divide. Don't know. They guess. The worst thing is that they guess. They are trying to match what their theoretical knowledge is and the numbers here. But they don't know. The weakest point is that they don't know what question type this is. Question type. When they don't even when they are not able to identify what question type this is, how do they know what is the right plan to go and solve the question? What is the right steps to solve questions? I wouldn't even say steps. It's just the plan. You don't even have a plan. It's like, for example, I give you today a sword and a shield. You have a battle, you have the battle to fight. So what do? Yeah! Just go and fight. No point, man. Right. You need to have a plan. What is this question about? Like, for example, if you have a sword and shield, you must know who you're battling or not. You know who you are fighting or not. Do you know what do they have or not? Do you know what do they have and you don't have, or what do you have and you don't have? How are you going to? If you're just going to run with a sword and shield, for example, the other guy on the other side got a gun, just going to shoot in the head. Then no point, man. That's the idea. You need to see what you have, what are you given, what are the knowledge points you have, create a plan. Then you go and solve the problem. But the thing is that the planning process, the emphasis on the planning process is being reduced. This is a very unfortunate thing. So as a tutor, what I will do is normally I will get them to plan first. Plan out what step 1, find what. Step 2, find what. Step 3, find what. Step 4, answer. Then from the plan, they go and write their statements. And their statements must match the plan. For example, you want to find angle ABC first. Then you go and solve. Angle ABC equals to something something minus something divided by 2. Then find BCE. Okay, BCE equals to ABC minus something something something. Like that. Then you solve step by step. When you reach the end of the plan, that answer will be your final answer. Isn't that very clear? But the thing is that students, or I would say schools, don't focus, really remove the steps of problem solving. Today, they accept number statements, which is, to me, very frustrating. It's a frustration. Because when the thing is that when they just write, for example, for angle question, I use angle as an example. So for example, for questions, they say find an angle, but you need multiple steps. You need to find other angles. Then you choose some property. You can link it over to this angle. So what happens right now is that when the students start writing, they take 180 minus 45 equal 135. 135 divided by 2 is 67.5. 67.5 plus 80 is 147.5. 360 minus 147.5 equals to 172.5. Answer. Do they even know what they're writing? So, and the worst thing is the schools accept this shit. Okay, I'm sorry to say that this is shit. Okay, because why? Because when the students are writing, yes, they are clear on what to find. But it has a lot of risk. Number one, people will lose track. They will get lost in the way. And a lot of them will actually they are planning. I will not discredit they are not planning. They are planning and solving at the same time. This is what is bad. Because they plan halfway, they lost track of their goal. Or they lost track in their own plan. Maybe this question you did step 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe they did 1, they did 2. They did 2 already, right? Then they lost track. Then from step 2, right, they jump to step 4 immediately. Then wrong. And the worst thing is when they write purely in number statements, they don't know that they jump from step 2 to step 4 with missing out step 3. That is the worst part. Because they don't know, they lost sight of their plan. And then when they go back, when the paper is being gone through, they look through the questions again and say, oh yeah, I left out this one. Oh yeah, I left out that one. Oh yeah, I should have done this one first. What's the point? Because you yourself are not clear on what you want to do. You yourself are not clear of the plan. That's why even if you jump from step 2 to step 4, you don't know. That is a problem. That's why I focus on getting them to write down the full plan first. So when they write the full plan, they go and write the statements according to the plan, it will confirm be correct. And they check, number one, people get lost. Number two, when they check, they don't know what to check for. Because like for example, let's say you do finish the whole maths paper, you want to go back and check. What do they check for? They don't know what to check. Because they have no idea whether this answer, this number is correct or not. Because they lost sight of the plan. So in order for them to check, if they were to write like this, how would they normally check? They will freaking redo the whole question from head to toe. They think through everything again, calculate everything again. Then they will think it's correct. But the fact is, do they have the time? They don't have the time. Because when you do finish the paper, you are left with about 15 minutes. How are you going to redo every single question with the same level of concentration to ensure that your answers are correct? It's impossible. But parents in the past are only teaching our kids to redo the paper. That is, I would say, it's not the fault of parents. It's not the fault of parents. Because in the past, parents, when they took their exams, that's what they did. Because questions are not so complicated back then. Questions are complicated now. This is what makes it more important to have a plan. When the kids have a plan, they will know what to do. And when they check, all they need to do is to check their plan. They look at the plan they've written on the left-hand side. Oh, this is what I need to do. Then they can map what their statement is. Their statements right related to the plan. So let's say the plan got 4 steps. Does my statement have 4 steps? Yes. My answer is good to go. It's very straightforward. So they must learn how, students nowadays must learn how to separate the planning and the solving. They must separate first. They must be able to master the planning and the solving individually first. Then you can put them together to plan and solve at the same time. I don't know how the other tutors are doing it. And probably there could be, this is the reason why a lot of other tutors out there, they tutor for many, many years, but there's no improvement in the student. The student just don't get it because they don't even focus on the main issue, which is the planning process. So and this is the second benefit, second problem. They lost sight of the plan, the first point. Second point, they don't know what to check. And number 3, when they revise, they don't know what to revise. Revision gets very daunting. Why? Because let's say you have a max file. It compiles all the worksheets that you did in the past, in that 1 year. And let's say you are revising for an end of year exam. You take out the whole max file, you go and study. It's going to be a very daunting task because all you see inside your papers, right, are numbers, 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 and numbers. It will make your revision damn demotivating. Because how are they going to revise? They are going to do everything again. And when they think, when people have to do the whole max file again just for revision, no one wants to do it. No one wants to do it. I wouldn't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But the thing is, when if I were to write my working every day to be having a clear plan, clear statements, and working, when I revise, I read the question, I think through what my plan should be. What is my plan? I covered my questions, I covered my answers, I think through what's my plan. So when I check with the plan, my plan is correct. I'm done for that question, guys. I'm done for the question. You don't need to go into the calculation one by one. No need. Okay, that on the premise that your calculations are fine and are pretty much accurate. You do not need to look at your calculations anymore. You only look at the plan. So why I get people to do planning? Because when they do planning, they know when they revise, they only look through the plan again. They check their plan, they align their plan. Okay, yes, this should be the correct plan and strategy for me to approach this question. So when I go to exam, I see the same kind of question. I know what plan to use. It's not the number statements that are going to remember. I'm not expecting you to memorize your number statements, what is being solved, what is calculated. No, because that's only pertaining to that question. But it's about the different, we need to match this plan. Okay, I made a similar question in the exam. Can I use a similar plan? Can I adjust my plan to cater to the exam question? That is what makes the top scorers the top scorers. They think of the strategy, not the number statements. Okay, we must know the difference. Very important. Okay, so if you guys really want to be the top scorers and A scorers, like, we must shift the thinking from number statements to having a plan. The plan is far outweighs the number statements. So for revision, when they look through, it's much easier. And this makes the top scorer, right, when they revise, right, it's much easier job. It's an easier job. They just look through, they look at questions, they plan through. Yes, I got the plan. Move on. Questions, plan. Correct. Move on. Questions. Okay, this plan different. This is the correct plan. So I should be doing this first. I should be doing this first. I need to do this first in order to find this first. Okay, can. Move on. Next question. They do not need to do any redoing. They can read the maths file like a storybook. And to them, revision is much more easier. And when revision is easier, they will want to revise more. And when they revise more, they will get better grades. And this is how the top scorers will remain as top scorers, while you are still struggling with number statements. It's as straightforward as this. So in answer key, like for example, answer key, they will, for parents, okay, just a small tip. For parents who wants to buy assessment book for kids, okay, I just thought of something. How do you check whether this book is suitable for your children to buy? For your children to do? Check the answer key. If the answer key writes in proper statements, okay, I'll show you what is an example of a good answer key. A good answer key will be like this. Okay, let's say this is proving. Okay, let me just find for proving, yes, for angles. Okay, for angles and geometry, if your answers are, like for example, this one I've been talking about angles, 180 minus 45 by 2, then something plus something is, it's just number statements. If the answer key is just number statements, don't buy. Don't buy. Even if you see, even if your children do, they won't understand what's going on. They won't understand what's going on. Okay? So when they revise, when they do, right, it's counterproductive. If you want to buy answer key, you want to buy books, buy books with this kind of answer key. I show you all on the screen. Very clear-cut one. And you can see that the explanation and answers are actually being shown very clearly. When I find what? I want to find SA squared. SA squared, they write down what are the conditions to find. AP squared plus SP squared. Then each step, then they equate SP to PB. So you see, every step is very, very clear. And then they show it one step along the way. This one equals to this, equals to this, equals to this, equals to this, equals to this. Proven. This is very clear. This is very clear. Okay, so for those of you who want to buy assessment books, go and check their answer key. How is it being written? If it's written like that, good, can buy. And students must copy exactly how it's being written here. For students who are buying assessment books for yourself, that's a good thing. Shows that you're motivated. But if you want to learn from the answer key, copy it wholesale, word for word. Don't read the answer key and write it in your own statements. No point. Copy it word for word. Understand how do you get the full marks, the exact model answer. That is what you should do. Not read the question, then I write my own way. Anyway, same thing, what? Cannot. Copy word for word. Think in the perspective, what does the examiner wants? The examiner wants it in this format, and it's super clear. So when you read, there's a reason why the answer key writes it like that. And this is for you to understand. So you must write it in this way for the examiners to understand your working as if it's from the answer key. That is the motivation. And that should be the correct motivation. Okay. So, and of course, like for example, are there bad answer keys? Yes, there are bad answer keys. Okay, but I would say in assessment books, rarely it occurs. Rarely occurs. I wouldn't say for future publishers, but I can show you an example of a bad answer key. Let me show you. Answer key here should have. Where is it? Answer key. P61 I need to dig out P69. Got it. Primary school paper. Normally, right, where do you get bad answer keys? You get bad answer keys when you buy model school papers. When they give you the whole stack of like more than 10 plus model school, top school model exam paper. And you go and do it. You want to buy those material, can. I have tons of it here. You see the whole stack over there? You can see the whole stack over there. All these stacks are top school model exam papers. Like, this is an example. Okay? But you have to acknowledge the fact that you are buying this for the questions. You don't buy this for answers. Very important. This is for primary school parents who are watching this. Okay? If you want to buy this, right, for the answers, right, I suggest you don't buy. You buy assessment book. You buy this for the questions, for drilling for your students to go and do, gain more practice, gain more insights, get more experience. Can. Don't buy a for answer key. I understand a lot of parents, right, who buy these kind of papers, right, then they look at the answer key and then they help their children to mark the answers, right, according to the answer key here. Do not do that. Let me show you an example of answer key. Speaking of angles, like that. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. Because I have no idea what the hell does all these workings mean. I have no idea what does this angle 42 is. I have no idea what this 74 is. I have no idea what's going on. All these are purely number statements. This is number statements that I will not accept. So why is it that in the secondary school book, they write it in very clear, this angle equals to what, equals to what? Why can't we do it here? This is something I cannot understand. But coming up from their perspective, why they are doing this? Because all these answers are not produced by the schools themselves. All these are done by the supplier who prints this exam paper in mass quantities. These are being done by them, not by the schools themselves. So they are writing in this kind of bullshit format. So please, parents, don't follow this. You are sabotaging your own kids if you are following answers here. Okay? What is a good answer? Let me show you. This is decent one. This is a decent one. Like that. So before they show you the number statements, they will show you, okay, remaining is this one, which is 70 over 100. Rent is like that, it's 10.5. Total equals to 30% plus 10.5. This is clear. This is decent. This one, okay. Okay? So the thing is that always strive for writing a proper statement like this for every problem sum that you do. Everything you all must do, must write for statements. Because from here, I can read, okay, this is the, when I read the question, and then I read this one. Okay, that means the first thing I need to do is to find the remaining. Then I can find the rand. Then from the rand, using a 10.5, I can go and find my total, which is what I'm looking for, which is 14.5, which is my final answer. So when I revise, I look at the question, I think of the plan. I just look at the plan, I'm done. No need to do calculations anymore. Okay? So please be smart about doing your working, and be smart about buying answer keys and assessment books. Okay? Don't copy this kind of bullshit answers. Please don't do that. Okay? So I understand it's a primary school thing. Okay, but habits can be built from primary school. So when they say that one more thing that I'm very pissed off. One more thing that I'm very pissed off is that about primary school is that please don't write all the equal signs in one row like some choo-choo train. This is a common mistake. It's not a mistake, it's a presentation thing. Okay, in the answer key in the book just now, what I showed is that all the equal signs are in one proper straight line like this, because all the equal signs are all downwards like this. This is good presentation. It's very clear, because all of these, because even though there are multiple equal lines, but it's all of these as you can see in this example, all of these equates to cosine 3x. It's very straightforward. Okay, so it's about presentation. So when you write primary school subjects, please go and don't just write blah 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 blah, just one whole line of it. It's not going to do you good for presentation. And the worst thing is when you see your own number statements, you don't understand what you're writing. And it goes back to the same point I'm talking about. You don't know what you're writing, you lost sight of a plan, you don't know how to revise. Then what's the point? No point. Okay. So if you want to buy papers like this, can buy. I'm not saying don't buy, okay? I'm not saying don't buy, okay? But buy it with the correct motivation and intention. Buy it for the question and drill. But then on the premise that, number one, either you know how to do it as a parent. Number two, there's a tuition teacher or a tutor that's helping you to guide your kid through these questions. Or number three, your students know how to do planning themselves. Otherwise, don't buy. You don't expect to buy all these tons of questions when you yourself have no idea what's going on and expect your children to score an A. It will not happen. It will not happen. Okay? Share from a real life experience. Okay? Same thing. Her daughter this year is P6. Then because her mathematics foundations are not that great. Okay, so what happens is that the mother bought this and a whole stack for the kid, and then asked her to do one paper every day. But still the results are not, the improvement is not big. So the parent asked me what's going on. And I just pointed to the parent, because she's using, the thing is that the student nowadays, they are using the same mentality. They're using the same mentality to do the paper again and again. So, and they always think that, practice makes perfect. I do more, I'll get better. But the thing is that if they do so many papers, but they do not rectify and to adjust or to correct the past concept or their past knowledge or their past mistakes, wouldn't they commit the same mistakes again? They will still say the same thing again. They will still commit the same exact mistakes. They will not just do until halfway, become something wrong, something wrong. Unless there's someone that's come in and to guide them. Otherwise, mass doing and mass practicing doesn't work, because they're using the same wrong mindset and wrong knowledge to do the questions. Then you'll get all the wrong answers. Then all your papers all wasted. Isn't it? Not worth it. Okay? So parents who, like for example, in any chance, maybe you do not have a tuition teacher and you're watching this, and you wanted to help your child improve, please don't buy model school exam papers if you don't know how to do them yourselves. You will only sabotage your kid, because the kids are going to follow all these average writing and lousy written answer keys, and they're going to do the same thing without understanding why is it so. And when they copy the answer keys from here, They have no idea how to revise, and they don't understand the working themselves. And will they replicate the same correct answer or the same idea to another question? They can't, because they don't get the concept at all. They only know the statements, they only know the numbers, but they do not know what's the thinking process behind. They do not know what's the plan. And when they don't know the plan, they cannot replicate. So all this will be wasted and goes down the drain. All right, a very, very important message. Okay, if you want them to self-study, go and buy good assessment books. Get them to read the answer key, do themselves, look at the answer key, think through, and see how can they match the answer, match the thinking process to the answer key. And because the answer key is exactly what the school wants, and that's exactly how you get full marks, then you can get them to do self-study. Okay, so it's a very heated topic, and I'll always share with always tell my students and their parents to also to debunk and to demystify some misconceptions that they have about math practicing. Okay, you don't math practice to get perfect. Okay, practice don't make perfect. Okay, I think we are being taught this in the past. Practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. Practice don't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. You must be practicing the correct things. You must be practicing the correct idea, the mindset, the plan, the concept, the theory, the understanding, the knowledge. Then you can be perfect. Like for example, like you play sports, for example. Like let's use a common sport, maybe football. Okay, let's say you play football. You must learn how to basketball, easier to relate. If let's say you're learning how to shoot hoops, and somehow or other you're using the wrong posture. Maybe your hand is wrong, maybe your aiming is wrong, something like that. Maybe the aim or target of sight is wrong. And you keep shooting 500 hoops per day, 1,000 hoops per day, but none goes in. Does more practice makes you perfect and one day after practicing the 1,001 time, the ball start to go in by itself? No, ma. There must be someone who tell you, okay, your posture is wrong, your aiming is wrong, the way you hold your ball is wrong, the way you aim is wrong. Then you need to adjust here, adjust there, adjust here. Then when you start to practice the correct things, or practice so-called the perfect things, then you will get the balls in the hoop, man. Then it's perfect, man. You see what I mean? Okay, so practice don't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. Okay, get this in mind. Okay, very, very important. Okay, so it's about time already. It's about 7. Today I didn't do much of math stuff. I'm just gonna keep ranting on the education system, how the brain thinks. Who knows? Maybe in the future, if I don't teach anything related to math, I'll be talking about the same thing again and again. Okay, but I really hope this message goes out there. Very important clip. Very important clip. So I really hope that this message goes out to more parents, and of course to more students who are watching, by any chance watching this clip. Okay, it is for you guys to think deeper, think more. Okay, and thinking more is not difficult. Thinking more is about thinking that 101% more. No, that's the wrong thing. Thinking 1% more. You're thinking 100% every day. We got so many things to think about. But it's thinking about 1% more. Just thinking 1% more. You will see that there's a lot more out there to realize. Okay, one last sharing, but I was doing tuition with my Sec 2 student. He's actually pretty smart. So we were discussing about pi, the value of pi. And then I was sharing with him that what happens, because we know that pi is a recurring decimal, man. So what happens if pi one day becomes not a recurring decimal? That means it stops somewhere. That means, let's say today I know that pi is this number. It stopped there. The calculation of pi decimal places stops. What's going to happen? And in short, what is going to happen, in case you guys are wondering, if the calculation of pi stops, it's equivalent to like having Thanos garnering all the 6 infinity stones. The population will wipe half. That is what happens. That is what will happen. Because our world's intellect will all be wiped out by half. Including, every single person, every single one. Including you and I and the richest and the smartest people in the world. All our intellect and all our IQ will be wiped off by half. Okay? That is in the short summary. That's the most straightforward conclusion. But we were discussing about the values of pi. And then he asked me, so why, since the calculation of pi is never ending, why would people still want to do it? What do these mathematicians do it for? He asked me this question, and I was quite surprised. But we went on to have a very meaningful calculative discussion about the purpose and the pursuit of mathematics. The mathematicians know that these calculations of pi will never end. It will never end. It has started since a few thousand years ago, and it will still continue for many more thousands years ahead. Okay? But why do mathematicians are still so fascinated about the calculation of pi? In fact, there's a book of pi that shows I think it's the 1 million decimal places of pi, starting from 3.14159263. But if it's never ending, why would people want to continue it? But my reply to him was, it is not the end goal that they are pursuing. It's about the process. It's about the process of leaving a mark in mankind and to tell people that, hey, this segment of numbers is being calculated by me, and that another small segment in the book of pi is being calculated by another teammate of mine. It's the process that they are celebrating when they are calculating a pi, because the calculation of pi will never end. Today is about 1 trillion places, and it will just continue on and on and on and on. It will never end. And we came to this concluding statement. Perhaps the pursuit of mathematics is the celebration itself. Oh, that's a very good statement, actually. So I told him that it's a very good statement, actually. So I hope that he can continue in this whole lifelong celebration process. Because there's so much theories out there to learn, to find out about, to learn, to explore. In fact, what I'm touching on in these quickfire sessions, all the sec 1 to sec 4 max, the low PSLE max, are just the mini tip of the iceberg. There's so much more mathematical theories out there that is being proven by our mathematicians and the forefathers and people in the past. Okay. Will we get a chance to actually know about them? Yes, probably. Will we get a chance to apply them 0.001%? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's been around us, but we don't know. But the thing is that, when our mathematicians in the past, when they were doing all these calculations and theory and proving and all the hypotheses and stuff, are they really celebrating the end process? Yes, I found the identity, yay! Yes, I prove it, yay! Do they actually celebrate that? Actually, not really. Because it is the whole discovering process that they are celebrating. That's why, really, the pursuit of mathematics is the celebration itself. They are celebrating every moment of doing their job. They don't even see it as a job. They see it as a discovery process. And how can this be used and applied to our students today? Planning. It is still the planning process. When you appreciate the planning process for each problem, the problem will not be a problem anymore. It becomes a planning process. It's a planning process. And when you see the question that appears, that seems to be similar like what you have planned before, you can use the plan. So nothing becomes difficult. Everything becomes easy to you because it's the planning process that we are appreciating here. And when students appreciate the planning process, only then they can know and they can tune themselves to think critically. That is the most important thing. So, do I use my sine, cosine, tangent in real life? No lah. Except to teach only lor. But it's about, why is my image hanging? Probably they tell me 7 o'clock, don't want to do it, right? Yeah. So when I keep practicing all this mathematics stuff to create all these things, it's also to sharpen my thinking process. And I give myself credit to the fact that it has continually sharpened my thinking and my critical thinking skills. So that whatever problem I see, whether is it in business, in maths, I'll have a plan to do it. Yeah. Whether the plan is a long-term plan or a short-term plan, whether it's a 5-step answer or a 10-step answer, or maybe it's just a 2-step question, there will be a plan to it. And when we put our focus on the planning, everything becomes manageable and achievable. If we focus too much on the answers, the answer probably will never come. Right? And we have transited from a very mathematical and educational point of view to a very philosophical perspective. It's like doing life, man. If we keep pursuing what is the end goal of life, we will lose the process. We will, like, if we were to, let's say I'm rushing off somewhere, let's say I'm rushing home to do something, I'll be missing out all the scenery I'll be passing through when I take the train. That's the most simplest, straightforward process. When I focus too much on the end goal, we will miss the scenery. And it is the scenery that adds wonders to our life. Right? So leaving this message here, and hope to see you guys next week as well. I'll still do it as per normal, as per usual. And probably there will be some adjustments in the timing as well and the days. So hopefully I can maintain the same amount of level of activity. Then probably I will be coming out with some other activities as well. So stay tuned for more. So I'll see you guys next week, same timing.